Who were the Vikings? The Vikings were not a race, but were made up of Scandinavians from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. These people all have one thing in common. They all spoke the language Norse and were often referred to as Norsemen. They were best known for their uncivilized ways of living, raiding neighboring countries for riches, and were not considered humane. The Viking Age began roughly around 800 AD with the first raid of a monastery in northeastern England in 793 AD. The Norman conquest of England in the year 1066 resulted in the defeat for the Vikings. This is believed to be the end of the Viking era. The most essential tool in these raids were their ships, that were very ahead of their time, crafted by the Vikings. They were famous for using the Norwegian Sea and the Baltic Sea for sea routes to the south. They raided coastal countries and areas which were very convenient for attacking from the beach. A great example of Viking art is the beautiful engravings of mythical beasts that were made on the bow of the ship. The Vikings were feared by most European countries for their inhumane ways of fighting, brute force, and lack of remorse, as well as their religious beliefs. Often referred to as pagans by their enemies, they believed in a god by the name of Odin, as well as several other gods, who fought to their death to be accepted into their heaven, known as Valhalla. When the term art comes to mind, Vikings were not typically known for being familiar with traditional ways of art. They were known for creating applied art, consisting of tools, weapons, and everyday items that were sculpted and forged with many lines as well as multiple overlapping lines on them. The Vikings loved to add mythical creatures to their work as well. In this mini-doc, we'll be going over two art styles, starting with the boar style. This style was the most widespread of all styles found throughout Scandinavia and across the Viking colonies. This style was used from the last quarter of the 9th century to the middle point of the 10th, featuring a mask-headed-like animal, pretzel-shaped bodies, and gripping paws. While other styles of Norse art show exterior influences, the boar style appears to have been fully created in the Norse homelands. Samples have been found that were produced in Iceland, England, and Russia, showing the extent to which the style spread across the Norse dominion. The engravings on this brooch are a prime example of the boar style. The equal sides to this brooch, made by Vikings, show their version of making it look as perfect as can be. Another characteristic is the use of not wasting space and keeping everything tight together. You can also identify the round-shaped eyes, as well as the oval-shaped snout on this creature being shown. Multiple heads are being shown with very familiar details. The second style of art from the Viking Age we will go over is the Mamen style. This specific style was prominent in the last half of the 10th century. This style was inspired by and came after the gelling style. As shown, you can see the tendrils are long and wavy, S-shaped, and loosely scrolled. Also visible are the concave dents, spiral hip joints, and almond-shaped eyes. Almost naturalistic lions and birds are featured, as well as serpents and foliate patterns. The name comes from a small axe head from a gravesite in Mammen, Denmark. The axe head was carved, then inlaid with silver. On one side of the axe head is a foliate pattern, and on the other is a stylized ribbon-like bird with tendrils on the wings and tail. The ribbon-like patterns are emphasized throughout the axe, as well as lots of overlapping line work. This is a fantastic example of how Vikings brought art into reality.
The excessive use of intersecting and overlapping lines, as well as colors, are the formal qualities of art to be recognized from the Vikings Age. They use these formal qualities to help guide the viewer to get a better understanding or the meaning of the piece of art itself.